Hello Marvel Legends and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behavior. And today we are gonna finish this stage of global lockdown the same way we started it. Remember back in the olden days, the drunken videos? Yes! We're so close to life being back to normal. Why not celebrate with a slightly inebriated top 10 countdown?
Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Yes, we have no bananas.
I don't know about you, but I'm here for this. So I've invented this new drink. It's orange juice with some vodka in. I call it an orange vodjuska.
I can't believe no one's thought of it.
I know! And it's quite tart. So, why are we here? We are going to do another top 10 controversial Marvel figures that we will never see in Legends form. And I'm feeling a little bit feisty here, so I'm calling it now in the comments section. This is gospel. You can take this to the bank. Quite frankly, over 6,000 subscribers now. I'm tired of being humble, all right? What I say goes. And if you think I made a mistake, then shh. You're confused, okay? So, let's do this. Coming in at number 10 of the controversial characters that we will never see in Marvel Legends form, we have Black Punisher. Doesn't that just sound like the title of a 70s exploitation movie that you should probably never watch with your parents? Black Punisher was a thing that happened, and no matter how much Marvel might not want to reference it, it was the case. In the early 90s, someone was like, what if we had the Punisher, but black? And no one went, I don't know, we could be uncovering some rocks we don't want to go down. That's a mixed metaphor, but either way, they did it. They made the Punisher black because that would be something that was okay to do without any kind of potential controversy whatsoever. Go figure. So the storyline was that he was in prison, as he bloody well should be, quite frankly, and eventually Jigsaw and some of his cronies, they mess him up and his face gets all mangled, and ironically, because his face is mangled, he's able to escape from prison by disguising himself as someone else who was escaping from prison. So he goes to a plastic surgeon, very Tim Burton Batman sort of style. He goes to this back streets, drug-addled plastic surgeon, and he's like, fix me up, and oh boy, does he ever. And when they unwrap the bandages, and he's like, mirror. It's like, I'm black. Who knew? And of course, then hilarity ensues, where we have Black Punisher who gets pulled over by the cops, and it's like, oh, it's because he's black. It's like, well, actually, he was driving very erratically. I think I'm trying to remember. I think there were like two different policemen, and they were both portrayed as being sort of like the stereotypical racist cops, but at the same time, he is the Punisher. So, potato. You maybe did the right thing for the wrong reasons there. But either way, what's also kind of funny with that story is eventually the plastic surgery just wears off like a spray tan, I guess. So eventually, after about only like 2 issues or so, or 3 issues, because they didn't stick by this for long. He just the blackness wore off. I can't believe I'm saying that, and he was back to being the regular Punisher. Go figure. Oh, it's tired. So that was the chronicling of the Black Punisher, and quite Black Punisher. It still just sounds funny, but I don't think we're going to see that in Legends form at all. It just, in the words of Ian Malcolm, I always do Ian Malcolm quotes. It raises too many questions. Actually, is that an Ian Malcolm quote? I don't know. What film is it where someone's like, it raises too many questions? Oh no, it's Batman. Oh gosh. Batman Forever, Jim Carrey, where, it's Val Kilmer's like, going into people's minds, it raises too many questions. I thought you would understand. Good times. Anyway, that was number 10, Black Punisher. Wow, 5 minutes for just one. This is It's going to be a long episode. So, coming in at number 9 now of characters we are never going to get in Marvel Legends form, we have Big Bertha. And this is an interesting one, which again, there's a lot to unwrap here. So Big Bertha, member of the Great Lakes Avengers, and her superpower is that she's really, really gargantuan. She's a big girl. Hang on a sec. So the funny thing is that she's not actually, that's not her normal state. Being fat is not like her normal way. She's actually like a super skinny model, and that just raises so many questions about body shaming and what's good and what's bad and what's not. Like, I bit my lip though, because I was like, am I allowed to say fat? It's 2021. Like, can I use the F word on YouTube? I don't know. I'm not worried about being politically correct. I just don't want to upset anyone. I want to try and be a nice person. Yeah. But yeah, that's her superpower. She can make herself like the Blob, where it's like, super dense, mass, strength. But where it becomes a real problem is that her superpower basically involves her sort of puffing herself up to this giant size, but then to go back to normal, she will purge. So it's bulimia, basically, is her superpower. She purges and goes back down to super skinny, supermodel size. And it's like, oh, guys, I don't know about this. And I think they have actually retconned her powers a little bit now. So she's kind of like a sort of a happy medium. But I mean, it raises a lot of difficult connotations. Whereas, if she was always that big, that's one thing. But then it's like, are you saying it's okay to be morbidly obese? Because it's not, even in a woke kind of way, just as a health thing, it's not okay. Drinking orange vodka, that's perfectly healthy, but not that kind of weight gain. But it's like that they were thinking, well, no one's going to like a hero if they're fat. You can't have a fat hero. So we'll say that, no, it's okay. She's actually skinny, so you can like her. And I was like, that's kind of difficult. And there was one story where she starts dating Deadpool, and Deadpool's like, hey, I actually prefer you when you're fat, which was like, it was kind of I'm not sure if it was a nice thing, but it was a way of sort of evening things out. But then she sees him without his mask, and she's like, oh, God, no. So that was kind of a funny turnaround. But yeah, so a lot of fat body shaming type questions that go on with Big Bertha, plus the fact that, my goodness, that would be a big figure that would require a big mold and a lot of plastic. So we know Hasbro ain't doing that. You're not going to spend extra money, because also, like, that's a one and done mold right there. So yeah, nah, mate, not going to happen. Coming up next, we have Yellow Claw or Golden Claw. Either way, the claw is not the problem, is what I'm saying. And this one doesn't really take a huge amount of explanation. Back in the 60s, and again, it was acceptable in the 60s. It was acceptable at the time that there were racial stereotypes that were okay in comics. It was the communist scare and Cold War and this and that. You could make other ethnicities the bad guys and play up all these kind of negative stereotypes.
There are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
Don't get me into a Dr. Seuss argument. That's a whole other thing. Yes, those books should be taken out of schools. They're inappropriate now. Not all of them. I'm getting into the rant. So Yellow Claw became Golden Claw because people realized, that's problematic, So they changed it to Golden Claw, and in doing so, recognized that calling this evil Asian character Yellow Claw, that doesn't track well. That doesn't look good for us. But still, it's a character that has that history there, kind of like the Mandarin. But again, the Mandarin has been made less of a stereotypical character now as well. He doesn't have like the sort of Fu Manchu kind of over the top sort of look, which at the same time, I didn't think it was an overly racist portrayal. It was just like a classic, like kung fu movie type villain. But then again, it's not my place to say. He's like, well, as a white male, I'm not offended by this. It's like, yeah, I'm not offended by much. But yeah, Golden Claw is another one who I think Hasbro are probably just going to want to just steer away from that one. Speaking of characters who Disney will probably want to steer away from, Hitler. Yeah, okay, this is an easy one. This could really go for any real life political figures, because a lot of them do feature in Marvel Comics. That's one of the reasons why I love Marvel Comics, is because it kind of, you have to fudge it with the sliding time scale, but it's set in our world with our real life kings and queens and presidents and prime ministers and psychotic dictators. So of course, you have all these classic appearances of Captain America that came out during the 40s with, Captain America punching out Hitler. Hitler exists in the Marvel universe. I mean, of course he does. I'm sure he exists in the DC universe as well. I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't want to know. But yeah, so you could conceivably have a Hitler action figure. He is a Marvel character. He was one of Captain America's first big bads, so it would make sense. Oh, big bad. I got that phrase "big bad" from Buffy, and now it just feels like you can't really quote anything Joss Whedon. It's kind of tainted now. It's sort of a shame, but it is what it is. He sounds like a terrible guy, but I don't know for certain. Is it fair to try people in the court of public opinion? I don't know. I sincerely hope that doesn't happen to me. Everyone's like, don't worry, Dave. No one cares about you. So, Hitler. Probably won't get him as an action figure, nor will we get Donald Trump or Barack Obama or President Bush or anyone else who we've seen in presidential or political figure type form. I always thought it was kind of funny when normally in the Marvel universe, when they show presidents, they'll be like the silhouette of the president. It'll give you the idea of the president. I think Barack Obama was the first time I remember seeing the president. This is Barack Obama. Here he is. And I'm sure they may well have done that before. I'm not a comic book expert. Even though I kind of am, toss. But yeah, that was the first time I remember seeing Barack Obama on the front cover being like, hey, this is the president. Where Marvel lines politically, but I'm all fine with that. But oh God, no political rants. Let's move on. Speaking of politically correct, New Warriors. And I don't mean the good New Warriors. I mean the new Warriors. The woke Warriors. This was surely a joke New Warriors. And I think it was. Come on. This was never actually released, was it? I don't think. I think, first of all, they announced the characters and everyone was like, seriously? And then eventually there was so much get woke, go broke type media coverage that Marvel were like, no. It's just, it's a media release. We're releasing it on our Marvel app. It's a digital, that's what I'm trying to say. Digital only release. It's not going to be a hard copy comic. And then eventually they were like, you know what? Let's just not do this. Which is funny, because the whole point of these characters was that it was they were anti-bully pride characters. It's okay to be who you are. Don't give in to bullies. And Marvel are like, we're going to give in to the bullies. People are saying mean things about Snowflake and Safe Space. Jesus Christ. Man, it must have been a joke because nothing could be that tone deaf. I am not trans, but if I was, I'd be like, please don't represent me like this. You're only making things worse. I mean, Mary, Jesus, Joseph, and the Little Orphans, the Snowflake and Safe Space. I don't know which one was which, and they were never clear, I don't think, about who identified as what, but it was like, you're indulging every stereotype. This is not helpful. Stop helping. And that was the thing. It didn't feel like they were trying to help. It felt like they were trying to jump on a wave of a zeitgeist, and it was just, it was all the worst stuff. They just the designs were just garbage. There was a vampire kid called B negative, because get this, B negative is a blood type, but also he likes to be negative. You see, so it's it's a two thing. So clever. Boom. I'm sure friggin', what's his name? What's his name? The Boom director. Boom. Come on, in Inception. Batman. Oh God. We're not doing any more until I remember his name. God, what's his name? Really pretentious.
Much later.
I still don't know. What? Christopher Nolan. Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, all right. Wow. That was tough. What was I talking about? Yes, Snowflake and Safe Space and the New Warriors. Yeah, we're not going to get figures of them. All right, this is a fun one. And this harkens right back to my formative teenage years. You think I look kind of cool like this? Of course you do. What if I looked like this? Still cool? Because that's what they thought about Wolverine. Yes, it is feral Wolverine from the mid-90s. Oh, my giddy lord. This was a thing for way longer than anyone wanted it to be. So yeah, feral Wolverine. And before you say it in the comments, I know we got a feral Wolverine figure from like Toy Biz or whoever made the figures back in the mid-90s. Talking about modern Hasbro, all right? Jeez, before everyone tells me. Ha, I know. So, but yeah, what was I talking? Feral Wolverine, yeah. So in the mid-90s, Wolverine was always like, oh, I can't cut loose. I gotta be careful. I can't give in to my feral side. And everyone thinks like, yeah, you mean you can't like, let your berserker instincts take over. What we didn't realize was actually, no, he's literally holding back a feral animal inside himself. Like, oh, it's a metaphor. No, it's not a metaphor. And in Wolverine 100, he morphs, transmutes into this feral, no-nose Wolverine with bizarrely like jagged bone claws that hook around yet somehow retract back into his forearms. Never figured out how that worked, but either way it looked really silly. It looked ridiculous, and it stayed around for what felt like so long. It was probably only like 6 months, but it just every time I saw feral Wolverine on the page, I was like, oh, we're still doing this. And they actually did quite a good job of transitioning him slowly back to normal Wolverine. And it was quite a nice transition to see because like eventually he gets slightly less monstrous. And it must have been difficult because they were coordinating his looks through all these different books with all these different teams and artists, but they managed to get it pretty uniform where eventually like he was like super feral, then slightly less, then a bit more upright. Then he was wearing a bandana, and then the bandana went back to the mask, and finally we had normal Wolverine, who didn't have jagged claws, wore boots, and didn't lick Cyclops when he was unconscious. It's like, oh gosh, because yeah, when like Savage Wolverine, feral Wolverine first happened, like he was a full-on like a puppy. It was bonkers and ridiculous, and we probably won't see him in Marvel Legends form.
Coming up now, me wee darling, by Jesus, by Mary, by Joseph, we're going to cover the character of Shamrock. You ain't never heard of Shamrock, have you?
Well, let me tell you about Shamrock. She's every Irish stereotype you could ever imagine ever since you ever saw Becky Lynch debut in NXT. That's as stereotypically Irish as Shamrock gets. And it's just, on the nose would be to put it bluntly. She's the daughter of an IRA militant. Already we're like, ooh, guys, you sure you wanna go down this route? And her powers involve her being a vessel for the poltergeist spirits of people who have been killed in war, innocent people. So her power is to have the power of war victims who manifest by giving her good luck in different occasions. It's like, oh boy, there's a lot to unwrap on that one. I should be drinking a Guinness for this just to make it extra Irish. You two should be playing in the background, But tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. Oh, you two there. Oh, that's tough. Okay, it wasn't U2 that was Band-Aid, but close enough. It's Bono. He still hasn't found what he's looking for. But Shamrock, no one's looking for her. And you know what? Eventually, she retired from superheroing and opened up a superhero hair salon. True story. That's not even me just riffing. It's that nonsense. And then it makes me think, like, do you have to be a superhero to go to that salon? And if so, like, is that kind of racist? Is that like, so a normal person walks in, they're like, hey, did you not see the sign? No dogs, no regular people. How'd you go on your arse? No Shamrock figures here, I don't think. This next one now is a weird one. And it's one that even when I was reading it at the time, I was like, why are you going and doing my character dirty like this? And that is Evil Bishop. Or is he evil? Or is it just perspective? He's trying to murder a baby. It's tough. Although, the premise of this is Cable's series in around 2008. And what happened was you had this baby Hope, who was the messiah for the mutant race. It was like, I think this was after the whole Scarlet Witch No More Mutants thing. So no more mutants. No more mutants are being born until Hope is born. And I kind of fell off the X-Men around this time, so don't quote me in any of this, even though I am the comic book messiah and what I say goes, all right? So, yeah, Hope is born. Problem is, Bishop is like, nah, I'm from the future, and I can tell you that she's gonna kill everyone, so I'm gonna have to murder this baby. And that was the concept for the start of this Cable series, is Cable goes on the run with this baby, with Bishop trying to murder her. So, we definitely needed a sip of vodka for this one. And I do kind of like, I see the point, because it's like that wonderful moment in Avengers Endgame where Rhodey is like, can't we just go back in time to find baby Thanos? And, it's like, dude, that's dark. But even the other Avengers said, that's dark. And there's a difference between going back in time and killing baby Hitler and actually having baby Hitler with you and being like, well, probably gonna grow up evil. It's like, that is quite different. But either way, Bishop's like, nah, I'm gonna try and murder you. And try he does. It's a weird series. It's very bleak dystopian sci-fi. And like the art style is this kind of weird, I forget the name of the artist, but it's this kind of computer-colored, almost watercolory looking stuff. It's quite cool. Although one time the artist got, he didn't get in trouble, but he got called out because someone noticed that he actually stole a texture from Halo, the game. Someone noticed one of the things in the background. They were like, wait a minute, you just did a screen grab from Halo and then drew characters over it. You can never get anything past comic book fans. But yeah, so Cable's on the run, Bishop's trying to catch him, and eventually, like, Bishop gets his arm blown off. So it's like one cyber arm against another cyber arm, because he gets a cybernetic arm as well. And at one point, like, Bishop hides like a nuclear bomb in his arm. It's like, it's cuckoo bananas crazy. To the point where I think a lot of comic book fans were like, we don't have a lot of black representation on the X-Men. Could you just not make the one popular black X-Man an evil baby killer? Do you think? So eventually they did go back and they did that. I don't think they retconned anything, but they just kind of like softened Bishop and moved him back into like his regular friendly Bishop mold, which is good, because it's like, you're lucky you didn't murder the baby, because it's tough to come back from that. Believe me. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so I'm glad that they didn't have Bishop kill the baby and they eventually moved him back to regular Bishop. But I don't think we're going to get any Marvel Legends chronicling baby murdering Bishop. I've only got a little bit of the orange vodka left, and it's probably a lucky thing because we've only got 2 entries to go. And these are some doozies, so you might want to strap yourselves in. Heroes Reborn. And this is a shame, I think. Anything from Heroes Reborn, Marvel are like, you know what? It's funny. Heroes Reborn is like the stepchild that Marvel, like, they're not proud of, but they're kind of like, no, that was terrible. Because it was. There was some okay stuff in there. But the problem is, whenever you think Heroes Reborn, you just think of Rob Liefeld and his terrible artwork, to the point where it is like a parody. And it's like, you must have known you were doing this. You couldn't have accidentally made artwork this bad. Everyone always points out Captain America with the giant chest, but oh god, that's too many chins there. But also, the one that I always remember was he drew the Enchantress as like a stick insect with like legs this long and then a little torso on top in that ridiculous S shape. It was like, what the hell is that? But yeah, we're not gonna get any Heroes Reborn figures, all right? I'm calling it now. And a lot of them, like, there's no real point. You know, Heroes Reborn Hulk just looked like Hulk, but with this ridiculous emo haircut. Fantastic Four just had slightly different Fantastic Four costumes. But what I think is a shame is the Iron Man costume looked really cool. I dug that, and there was. Before you say it again, there has been a Heroes Reborn style Iron Man. But again, it was old. It was old, and things are old. The things that are old should be forgotten about. I just want what's new. And Hasbro are not going to give us a new Ultimate Iron Man, which is it's not Ultimate. Heroes Reborn. Iron Man, which is a shame because the Iron Man armor, like, it looked cool. It had like sort of muscular looking, sort of like the way that muscles and sinews knit together. It's like the machinery kind of did that, and he had like kind of like exhaust type stacks on the back, and his mouth was like his mouth kind of like went up and down, and it was cool. It was cool. I liked it. I dug it. But we're not going to see it though. Nor are we going to see giant big boob Captain America or any of the other crazy, insane, hideous Liefeld. Could you imagine if they did like a whole wave of Liefeld looking characters? That would be so bizarre. I think I would probably buy it as well, which is the worst thing. The less said, the better. And finally, our number one figure that we will never get in Marvel Legends form, as you can guess from the thumbnail of this video, because hey, come on, sex sells. Boob Window Sue Storm. The 90s were a heady time. God, I miss them so much. Hey, look, we were trying to think of ways to sell comics and appeal to the masses, and one of them was to give characters titty windows. And you know what? Probably didn't hurt all that much in the grand scheme of things. There was a time in the Fantastic Four where Sue was like, you know what? I'm gonna tart up my outfit a little bit, and boy howdy did she ever. And yeah, so we got the Sue Storm, which had like the butt floss going up the back, and the fore boob window, and the stomach abs open type thing. Yeah, basically what I wear most weekends. And it was like, it's a bold choice. As the kids would say these days, it's a strong flex right there. It's a strong flex. But I mean, I kind of dig it. I'm sure Reed wasn't mad about it either. Because also, I mean, Sue Storm, I haven't read a lot of Fantastic Four, but she also seems so straight-laced. She always seems so just like very sort of Susie Homemaker, very kind of like bland. So when she went like full bejesus 90s style, it must have been like, hey, this is a welcome change. And either way, it was revealed later that this wasn't Sue Storm in her right mind. There was this entity called Malice who was like, I don't know. She was like an evil influence, kind of like the Dark Phoenix, I feel. So Sue Storm was kind of possessed, and that's why she was acting out of character and wearing a boob window. That was why. But I guarantee when Reed Richards found out it wasn't the normal Sue, he was probably like, oh, I mean, good, yeah, that's good. We got the old Sue back. Yeah, I got your costume, Sue. Oh, you don't want to wear this? No. Okay. Anyway, what are we doing? So yeah, boob window Sue Storm. Probably not going to get that in Marvel Legends form. If anyone wants to make me a custom, hit me up on Instagram. But yeah, it was a relic of the 90s, when so many ridiculous kind of things were. The 90s was the era of excess, and I love it. It was the era of Onslaught and Feral Wolverine and Heroes Reborn and boob windows and Death of Superman and Spider-Man clones and broken Batman and just... oh, it was a good time to be alive. Completely bonkers. Every comic book from that era, absolutely worthless. But it made some hardcore comic book collectors, such as myself. And folks, that was the top 10 list of figures that you will never see Hasbro make. And I think we, oh, that's tough. We finished it. We made it. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, then congratulations, because this was even more bonkers than the Ridiculous Friends video. I gotta start buying more figures. Otherwise, you're just gonna get ridiculous rants like this. But guys, if you enjoyed this and joined the 6-1, click by clicking the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And if you really enjoyed this, God only knows why, then go to patreon.com/displaying model behavior and throw a few shekels my way. It helps keep the lights on and gives me a bit of extra motivation because I love money. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Choose.